The little black girl put her only doll on the pharmacy counter and asked how many pills it was worth. For 1 second, no one in the store moved. The pharmacist's hand stopped above the cash register. A woman holding cough syrup lowered her phone. Behind the child, Adrian Cole, CEO of Cole Health, looked down at the wet prescription in her fist and saw his own foundation's logo stamped in red. Denied. 3 hours earlier, rain had been tapping softly against the cracked kitchen window of apartment 3B, where Maya Carter stood on a chair beside her mother's bed, trying to fold a blanket around a body that would not stop shivering. The apartment smelled faintly of boiled rice, rubbing alcohol, and the lavender soap Elise Carter used only when she wanted the room to feel less like sickness. On the nightstand sat a plastic cup with 2 inches of water, a dead prepaid phone, and a prescription bottle turned upside down because Maya had already checked it 4 times. Empty. Elise's lips were pale. Every few minutes, her hand moved toward her chest, then stopped, as if even pain had become too heavy to lift. "Mama," Maya whispered. "I can go ask Mrs. Bell downstairs." Elise opened her eyes just enough to find her daughter's face. "No, baby. It's raining." Maya looked at the window. The rain was not loud, but it made the streetlights blur like melted gold. "The pharmacy has lights," she said. "I can see them from the corner." Elise tried to sit up and failed. The effort left her breathing hard. "Listen to me. If it gets worse before midnight, you call 911. Maya looked at the dead phone. Elise saw it too, and something like shame crossed her face. She reached under the pillow with trembling fingers and pulled out a folded prescription, soft from being held too many times. "This is the medicine." Maya took it with both hands like it might break. "Will they give it to me?" Elise did not answer fast enough. Maya understood silence better than most children her age. She turned toward the small shelf near the stove, where one toy sat away from everything else. Molly, the doll with brown yarn hair, one scratched cheek, and a yellow dress Elise had sewn from an old Sunday blouse. Maya carried Molly everywhere, except to bed when her mother was very sick, because then Molly sat guard on the shelf. Elise followed Maya's eyes and whispered, "Not Molly." Maya walked to the shelf anyway. She lifted the doll carefully, smoothing the dress with her thumb. "You said we only sell her if there's no other way." Elise's face tightened. "Baby, that was something I said when I was scared. I didn't mean—" A cough cut through her sentence. Maya waited until it passed. Then she tore a strip from a bandage wrapper, pressed it around Molly's wrist, and wrote with a blue crayon in crooked letters, "For Mom's medicine." She found 3 coins under the cereal box, slipped the prescription into her coat, and kissed her mother's hot forehead. "I'm not selling her forever," Maya said. "Just long enough to make you better." By the time she reached Ortiz Pharmacy, her socks were soaked and the crayon on Molly's bandage had begun to smear, but Maya still stood as tall as she could. She pushed the doll across the glass counter, placed the 3 wet coins beside it, and asked the question that made an entire store forget how to breathe. Mr. Ortiz did not reach for the doll. His fingers hovered above it, close enough to cast a shadow across Molly's yellow dress, but not close enough to make a promise. "Sweetheart," he said, using the careful voice adults used when they were about to say no. "Medicine doesn't work like that." Maya nodded once, as if she had expected the rule but still hoped someone might bend it. "You can keep her until I bring more money," she said. "She doesn't cry at night. She's quiet." A man near the greeting cards looked away first. The woman with cough syrup pressed her lips together and pretended to read the label. Adrian Cole stayed still behind Maya, his black coat still beaded with rain, his driver waiting outside with the engine running. Before Adrian could speak, his security chief, Marcus Reed, stepped between him and the child with one smooth movement. Marcus did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "Mr. Cole," he murmured, "we should go." Maya looked up at the tall man blocking the light. "I'm not bothering him," she said, softly. Marcus looked at the doll, then at the prescription, then at the wet coins. "This is a known setup," he said, low enough for Adrian but loud enough for Maya to hear. "A child approaches. Someone records your reaction. If you pay, they come back. If you refuse, they post the video. Either way, your name trends by morning. The word setup landed harder than a shout. Maya's chin lowered, but her hands stayed flat on the counter, small and steady beside the doll. Mr. Ortiz exhaled through his nose. I've had people send kids in before, he admitted. Not like this, maybe, but close enough. I can't dispense prescription medication to a minor without payment, approval, or guardian verification. The state board audits everything. He tapped the laminated policy taped below the register, the kind no one read until compassion became inconvenient. Maya turned toward him. My mama is my guardian. I believe you, he said, and somehow that sounded worse than disbelief. But believing you doesn't give me a billing code. Adrian watched the child's face. She did not perform sadness. She did not wail or throw herself on the floor. She simply pulled the prescription closer before anyone could decide it was not hers. That restraint bothered him more than tears would have. Then his phone buzzed. A message from Vivian Cross lit the screen before he could unlock it. Adrian, please do not engage directly with street-level medical requests. Liability risk. Bring it to the gala team after tonight. He looked toward the pharmacy window, where no cameras were visible except the store's own security dome. How did Vivian know? He thought. Maya reached into her coat pocket and removed a folded paper so worn the creases had turned white. The lady on the phone said this means no, she whispered. Mr. Ortiz unfolded it and placed it under the counter light. Across the top was the blue logo Adrian had approved himself years ago. Colcare Assistance Program. Across the middle, stamped in red, was one word. Denied. Adrian leaned closer, not because he believed yet, but because one small detail had stopped him cold. The denial notice listed Elise Carter's application as rejected at 3:12 p.m., almost an hour before Maya said her mother had ever called. Adrian took the paper from Mr. Ortiz, but he did not let his thumb cover the red stamp. Denied sat in the center of the page like a verdict. What time did your mother call? He asked. Maya looked at the ceiling, not because she was guessing, but because children remembered time by sounds, not numbers. After the church bell, she said. The big one on Madison Street. It rang 4 times. Then Mama said, try one more time, baby. Marcus gave Adrian a look that meant exactly what he had said before, coached. Mr. Ortiz turned the paper toward the register light. The rejection printed at 3:12, he said quietly. That's what the system shows. Maya pressed her wet sleeve against Molly's face, drying a raindrop from the doll's scratched cheek. But Mama was asleep then, she said. She didn't call until after the bell. Adrian heard the sentence, filed it away, and still did not allow himself to believe it. Memory could bend. Children could misunderstand. A sick woman could call twice. A pharmacy system could lag. There were always reasonable explanations. Then Maya reached into Molly's dress pocket, the tiny stitched pocket Elise had added with blue thread, and pulled out a receipt folded into a square. Mama told me not to lose this one, she said. The receipt was from Ortiz Pharmacy, dated 2 days earlier, for a partial emergency fill Elise had paid for in cash. At the bottom, under the store number, someone had written a note in blue ink. Call Colcare before next dose. Adrian stared at the handwriting, not because he recognized it, but because the note had been circled 3 times by a shaking hand. Mr. Ortiz leaned closer. I wrote that, he said. She was short by $38. I gave her what I legally could and told her to call the assistance line. Adrian unlocked his phone and called Vivian. She answered before the second ring, music and glassware faint behind her voice. Adrian, finally. The board is asking where you are. I'm looking at a denied Colcare request, he said. Elise Carter. CC4179A. There was a pause, very small, the kind most adults would miss because they were listening for words. Maya was not listening for words. She was watching Adrian's phone. Vivian's voice returned smooth as polished marble. Case closed. Patient failed eligibility verification. Maya's fingers tightened around Molly's arm. That's her, she whispered. Adrian covered the speaker halfway. Who? The lady from yesterday, Maya said. When Mama called, she said those same words. Vivian continued, pleasant and practiced. Please don't pull a foundation file in the middle of a retail incident. Protocol exists to protect patients from emotional exceptions. Adrian's eyes stayed on Maya, but his voice remained flat. Did you personally review it? Another pause. My office reviews thousands of cases. That wasn't my question. Vivian gave a soft laugh, the kind meant to make concern sound childish. Adrian, you're tired. Come to the gala. Bring the paperwork if you must. Maya tugged his coat once, then pointed at the phone. There, she whispered. That sound. Adrian almost missed it. Behind Vivian's voice, under the music, came 3 clear chimes. The same glassy tone used in Colcare's gala promo videos whenever the donor wall lit up. Maya looked at the denied paper again. She said Mama's case was closed yesterday, she murmured. But she sounds like she's already at the party with the medicine. Adrian ended the call without saying goodbye. For a moment, only the rain and the pharmacy refrigerator made sound. Marcus shifted beside him. Sir, we are past the point of safe optics. Mr. Ortiz lowered his eyes to Maya. If this is a mistake, sweetheart, it will look very bad. Maya understood enough. If she was wrong, grown-ups would say she had caused trouble. They would say her mother had sent her to lie. They might even keep Molly. Her fingers tightened around the doll's cloth body until the old stuffing flattened under her palm. Adrian looked at the denied paper again, then at the receipt with Mr. Ortiz's handwriting. One test, he said. Not because I believe anyone yet. Because the times don't match. He asked Mr. Ortiz for the pharmacy landline. Use the store phone, Marcus said quickly. Not yours. If this is recorded, at least your personal number stays out of it. Adrian nodded, dialed Colcare Assistance, and placed the receiver on speaker. The ringing sounded too loud in the small store. A recorded voice thanked callers for trusting Colcare with dignity and compassion. Maya stared at the red stamp as if it might change if she looked hard enough. When a woman answered, Adrian softened his voice, removing the command from it. I'm calling about a patient pickup. Case CC 4179A. He's clicked. Name, Elise Carter. Another click. This case was approved and fulfilled. Mr. Ortiz's head snapped up. Adrian kept his voice even. Fulfilled where? One moment, sir. The woman put him on hold. Piano music filled the pharmacy, delicate and expensive. The same melody from Colcare commercials. Maya looked at Molly's wrist, at the smeared blue words she had written there. For Mom's medicine had blurred until MOM looked like it was crying. The woman returned. Medication reserve transferred to Colcare Gala Medical Suite. Status: VIP hold. Mr. Ortiz whispered. That can't be right. Adrian's hand closed around the receiver. This was prescribed to Elise Carter. Yes, sir. Then why is her medication on VIP hold? The woman hesitated. That classification is board approved. I can't alter it. Marcus leaned in, alarmed. End the call. Adrian did not. Who authorized the transfer? I'm not permitted to disclose internal approvals. Maya suddenly reached over the counter and touched the receipt. Ask about the blue sticker, she whispered. Adrian glanced at her. What blue sticker? Maya lifted Molly's arm. A small pharmacy label, half peeled from rain, clung to the doll's sleeve. It fell out of Mama's envelope yesterday. I stuck it on Molly so it wouldn't get lost. Adrian read the tiny print under the store light. CC 4179. Gala Reserve, VIP hold. He went very still. The hotline worker was still on the line. Sir? She asked. Adrian said quietly, I never told you this involved a gala. Silence. Then the line clicked dead. Almost immediately, Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from Vivian appeared. Do not move the Carter medication. Legal has classified it as event reserve. Adrian looked at the message, then at Maya. Vivian had just named the medication he had not told her he had found. Adrian did not move for 5 full seconds. The text on his screen glowed brighter than anything else in the pharmacy. Do not move the Carter medication. Marcus read it over his shoulder and went quiet. Mr. Ortiz looked from the phone to the little blue sticker on Molly's sleeve. She knew, he whispered. Adrian slipped the phone into his coat pocket, but his face had changed. Not softer, sharper. Mr. Ortiz, he said, does your system keep access logs? The pharmacist hesitated. It keeps everything. Insurance checks, override attempts, terminal IDs. But I can't just hand patient records to the man whose foundation is printed on that denial, Adrian asked. Mr. Ortiz swallowed. To anyone without cause. Maya reached up and placed the folded receipt on the counter again. Her sleeve left a small crescent of rainwater on the glass. Mama said the first lady on the phone was nice, she said. But then another lady came on, and the nice one stopped talking. Adrian turned to her. Another lady? Maya nodded. The nice one said, let me check again. Then the other lady said, no. Market closed. Mama put the phone down because her hand was shaking, but it was still talking. Mr. Ortiz opened a drawer and took out a small black drive. Calls from the assistance line get mirrored when they connect through our pharmacy portal, only for compliance. Usually nobody listens unless there's a complaint. He plugged the drive into the side computer. The screen washed his face in blue light. Files appeared by date, each named with numbers and times. He clicked the one marked Carter_Elise_C4179A_4-07 p.m. Static came first. Then Elise Carter's voice, thin and breathless. Please, I was told to call before the next dose. A young hotline worker answered gently. I see the file, ma'am. It looks like there may be a mistake. The medicine was, a second voice cut in. Calm, polished, close to the microphone. This case is closed. Adrian's eyes lifted. He knew that voice. He had heard it introduce donors, comfort grieving families for cameras, whisper strategy before board votes. Vivian Cross. Elise tried to speak. But my daughter, Vivian interrupted without raising her volume. Mrs. Carter, repeated calls will be documented as misuse of emergency assistance. Further misuse may affect future eligibility. Maya's face went still. She had not understood all the words the first time. She understood enough now. Mr. Ortiz clicked another tab. There's also the pharmacy transaction log. A row of entries filled the screen. At 3:12 p.m., before Elise's call, an admin override had moved CC 4179A from Community Emergency Fill to Gala Medical Reserve. The user field read Cross Admin. Marcus rubbed his jaw. That could be delegated. Maya stared at the screen, then shook her head. No, she said. That's the same time Mama was sleeping. Adrian looked at her. Maya touched Molly's stitched pocket. I remember because I put Molly next to her medicine cup, and the clock on the microwave said 3:12. I thought it looked like a countdown. The room seemed to tighten around that tiny memory. Adrian leaned closer to the monitor. Beside the override was a note only 3 words long. Barry Carter file. He stopped breathing, because Vivian had not just denied a sick woman's medicine. She had known exactly whose name she was burying. The words Barry Carter file stayed on the screen after everyone else had stopped speaking. They did not look like a note anymore. They looked like an instruction someone had followed before. Adrian asked Mr. Ortiz to print the log, then folded the page once and slipped it into his inside pocket. We're going to her apartment, he said. Marcus stepped closer. Sir, that's not secure. Adrian looked at Maya. Her small hand had closed around Molly's waist so tightly that the doll's stitched smile bent sideways. Neither is leaving a sick woman without medicine, he said. They reached apartment 3B in 12 minutes. The building smelled of damp carpet, old radiator heat, and someone's dinner cooling behind a closed door. Maya climbed the stairs faster than the adults. One hand on the railing, one hand holding Molly against her chest. At the door, she paused and looked back. Mama gets scared when strangers come in. She said. "Let me talk first." Adrian nodded. It was the first order in the night that came from Maya, and everyone obeyed. Inside, Elise Carter lay under two thin blankets, her breath shallow, her hair damp at the temples. When she saw Adrian Cole in her doorway, fear crossed her face before recognition did. Not surprise, fear. "Maya," she whispered. "What did you do?" Maya ran to the bed. "I tried to buy the medicine." Elise closed her eyes as if that hurt more than the fever. Adrian stepped forward slowly, holding up both hands where she could see them. "Mrs. Carter, Vivian Cross denied your medication." Elise's eyes opened. "Vivian knows?" The way she said the name made Marcus look toward Adrian. Adrian heard it too. This was not the fear of a patient hearing about an administrator. This was the fear of someone hearing that an old threat had found her address again. Maya suddenly tugged at the drawer of the nightstand. "Mama, Molly has the paper," she said. Elise's hand lifted weakly. "No, baby. They said you were misusing calls," Maya said, her voice trembling but clear. "You told me Molly was for when people said you lied." The room went quiet. Elise turned her face toward the wall, ashamed not of the truth, but of needing her child to carry it. Maya opened the seam under Molly's yellow dress with her own fingers. From inside, she pulled a plastic sandwich bag, cloudy with age. Adrian unfolded the first photograph. Smoke, broken glass, a young nurse with blood on her sleeve, a younger version of himself on a stretcher, eyes half open. Elise spoke without looking at him. "Cole Memorial Clinic. 12 years ago. You don't remember all of it." Adrian remembered flashes. Heat, sirens, Vivian crying beside his hospital bed afterward, telling him who had visited, who had not. Maya handed him the second paper. It was a handwritten promise with his signature beneath it. Lifetime medical care for Elise Carter. Elise swallowed. "I found out later that donor medications were being pulled from community patients and marked as executive reserves. I reported it to Vivian. She told me if I pushed, my treatment file would disappear." Adrian's phone buzzed then. "Vivian." Again, "Adrian, do not involve Mrs. Carter. She has a documented history of instability and noncompliance. We can protect the foundation if you return now." Adrian looked at Elise's shaking hands, at Maya's wet shoes on the floor, at Molly lying open like a wound. For years, Vivian had stood beside him at every charity gala, translating suffering into clean speeches. And for years, he had mistaken polish for mercy. Adrian did not answer Vivian's text. He turned the phone face down on Elise Carter's nightstand, beside the empty medicine cup, and became so quiet that even Marcus stopped trying to interrupt him. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "a doctor is coming. Not a press doctor. Not a foundation doctor. Mine." Elise tried to protest, but Maya placed Molly against her mother's side like a small guard and whispered, "Please, Mama." Adrian stepped into the hallway and made 3 calls in a voice so low the neighbors could only hear fragments. First, to Dr. Helen Marsh, the retired emergency physician who had once refused a board seat because she hated donors more than disease. Second, to Jonah Price, the only systems auditor Adrian trusted more than his own legal department. Third, to the hotel loading manager at the Colcare Gala, a man Adrian had promoted years ago after seeing him return a lost wallet with $12,000 still inside. "No police yet," Adrian told Marcus after the calls. "No public move. If Vivian is using protocol, we beat her with records." Within 20 minutes, the apartment changed without becoming loud. Dr. Marsh arrived with a black medical bag and knelt beside Elise. Jonah joined by video from a dark home office, his glasses reflecting lines of code. Mr. Ortiz, still at the pharmacy, uploaded the call recording, the register log, and the camera angle showing Maya entering long after the denial timestamp. Maya watched every adult touch evidence and grew frightened each time Molly left her sight. "She stays with me," she said when Marcus reached for the doll to photograph the hidden papers. Marcus pulled his hand back. Adrian nodded. "You hold her. We photograph what you show us." Maya carefully opened Molly's yellow dress again, holding. each paper flat while Jonah captured screenshots. Then she remembered something else. The lady said, "Move the old Carter file," like she was talking to somebody, she said. And there was a beep after, like the elevator at the clinic when Mama used to clean there. Jonah froze. Colcare archive rooms require badge access. If Vivian moved a physical file, there'll be a keycard record. Adrian's eyes sharpened. Pull Gala Hotel access too. Minutes later, two lists appeared side by side on Jonah's screen. At 3:09 p.m., Vivian's executive badge opened the restricted pharmacy reserve at the Gala Hotel. At 3:12, her admin account moved Elisa's medication to VIP hold. At 3:14, a second badge entered Colcare offsite archives. The badge name made Adrian's jaw tighten. Daniel Cross, Vivian's brother and head of legal compliance. Then Vivian called again, this time on video. Adrian answered, but angled the phone toward the cracked hallway wall. Not Elise, not Maya, not Molly. Vivian's face appeared flawless, framed by gala lights. "Adrian," she said gently, "the board is prepared to remove your emergency authority tonight if you continue exposing private patient data to outsiders." Her smile softened. "Bring the child to the gala. We'll arrange a compassionate statement. A scholarship, maybe, but stop digging." Adrian glanced at Maya. She had taken her mother's hand and was tracing circles on Elisa's palm to keep her awake. "No," he said. "You come to the gala stage as planned." Vivian's smile thinned. For the first time, her eyes moved past him and caught the small reflection in the hallway mirror. Maya standing behind him, holding Molly open, with Marcus, Dr. Marsh, and Jonah's live screen around her. Vivian understood then. The child at the pharmacy was no longer alone. The Colcare Gala glittered like a room trying to prove it had never touched suffering. Gold lights slid over champagne glasses, white tablecloths, donor name cards, and a stage backdrop that read "No patient left unseen." Behind the curtain, Maya stood with Molly pressed to her chest, her wet sneakers hidden beneath a donated coat that was too long in the sleeves. Adrian did not put her in front of cameras. He only knelt once and said, "When you're ready, you show what your mother told you to show." Vivian Cross walked onto the stage to applause. Her silver dress caught the light like armor. "Tonight," she said, "we protect compassion from chaos. We cannot let emotional incidents override medical protocol." On the screen appeared a blurred still from Ortiz Pharmacy. Maya at the counter, the doll before her. A soft gasp moved through the ballroom. Vivian had turned the child into evidence against herself, calling her an exploited minor used to pressure the foundation. Several board members nodded. Adrian stood slowly. The applause thinned. "Vivian," he said, his voice steady enough to make people lean forward. "What time was Elise Carter's case denied?" Vivian smiled with pity. "These details are protected. Then I'll show only the system." The screen changed. Jonah's restored log appeared. 3:09 p.m. Vivian's badge entering Gala Medical Reserve. 3:12 p.m. Cross admin moving C4179 A to VIP hold. 3:14 p.m. Daniel Cross entering offsite archives. Vivian's smile weakened, but did not break. "Those are administrative movements. Legal can explain." Adrian clicked again. The hotline recording filled the ballroom. Elise Carter's breath trembled through the speakers. "Please, I was told to call before the next dose." Then Vivian's own voice cut in, polished and cold. "This case is closed." Someone dropped a fork. Vivian turned toward the board. "An edited clip," she said. "A desperate mother, a confused child, and a CEO too emotionally involved to see reputational sabotage. That was her final shield, reputation." Adrian looked down, and for the first time that night, pain crossed his face without being managed. "I believed you for 12 years, he said. "That is my responsibility." Then he stepped aside, not behind Maya, beside her. Maya walked to the podium by herself. The microphone was taller than she was. She placed Molly under it, peeled the damp bandage from the doll's wrist, and showed the blue writing hidden beneath. "Carter Archive, Box 9. Mama said. Maya whispered. If grown-ups say she lied, show them Molly. Jonah opened the restored archive. The original email appeared. Patient aid diversion evidence. Sent by Elise Carter to Vivian Cross. Below it was Vivian's reply. Bury this or I bury your treatment file. The room changed shape. Donors pulled back from their tables. Reporters lifted phones. Board members stopped nodding. Vivian reached for the podium, but Marcus stepped forward and placed a sealed evidence bag between her hand and Molly. Adrian removed his own badge, set it on the lectern, and said coldly, "Lock the exits. No file leaves this building." Nobody moved until Marcus spoke into his cuff, and then the glittering ballroom became something colder than a gala. Hotel security closed the side doors. Jonah froze the archive server from his remote screen. Dr. Marsh, still at Elise Carter's apartment, sent the first medical report to an independent hospital network before Colcare Legal could touch it. Vivian did not scream. She stood with both hands on the podium, breathing carefully, while the same donors who had applauded her 5 minutes earlier stared as if she had become a stranger in her own dress. Daniel Cross tried to leave through the service hall with a leather folder under his arm. Marcus stopped him beside the ice buckets. Inside the folder were printed transfer orders for 37 patient aid cases, all marked for deletion after midnight. One of them was Elise Carter. Another was a boy in Ohio waiting for seizure medication. Another was a retired janitor in Atlanta whose insulin had been reclassified as donor reserve. The room no longer had one victim. It had names. Adrian asked the board chair to stand. The old man rose slowly, pale around the mouth. Adrian did not shout. You will suspend Vivian Cross and Daniel Cross tonight. You will preserve every server, every reserve order, every call recording, and every patient file. If one document disappears, I release the full archive to the Attorney General before sunrise. Vivian whispered. You'll destroy your own foundation. Adrian looked at the screen where Elisa's email still glowed. No, he said. You already did. By morning, Colcare's executive office was sealed by investigators. Vivian was removed from all authority. Daniel's compliance license was suspended pending criminal review, and the board was forced into an emergency public hearing. The gala footage spread everywhere, but Adrian refused to let Maya become the headline. He gave reporters only one sentence. A child brought us evidence because adults ignored her mother. 3 days later, Elise woke in a quiet hospital room with real curtains, not charity cameras. Her name had been corrected in the system. Her treatment file had been restored. The red denied stamp was gone, replaced by active patient protection. Mr. Ortiz came with flowers from the pharmacy counter. Dr. Marsh came with a treatment plan. Then Adrian entered carrying Molly in both hands. The doll's yellow dress had been sewn closed with a visible gold thread. The scar remained, neat and shining, because no one wanted to pretend it had never been opened. Adrian placed Molly on the blanket between Maya and Elise. I couldn't buy her back, he said. She was never for sale. Maya touched the gold seam. Then what is she now? Adrian looked at Elise first. Evidence, he said. And a witness. At the next board meeting, Elise Carter's seat was not at the back. It was at the table beside patient advocates, pharmacists, nurses, and auditors with voting power. Every closed case would now require human review, public tracking, and outside appeal. Maya sat beside her mother, Molly in her lap, quiet but awake to every word. No one called her confused. No one called her coached. And when the new policy passed, Elise squeezed her daughter's hand beneath the table. The smallest person in the pharmacy had not known the price of medicine, but she had known the worth of her mother. That had been enough to make powerful people listen.